Welcome to today's Explainer. So, when you hear the word America, what pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's the ultimate land of dreams, right? We instantly picture the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, an endless flow of dollars, the blinding neon lights of Times Square, and of course, the iconic Statue of Liberty. But is the United States actually exactly as you imagine it to be? Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey through the data, the geography, and the everyday realities of this massive country. We all know that cinematic fantasy, but in this explainer, we're stepping right out of the silver screen to uncover the grounded reality. What does the geography, the culture, and the actual pathway into the US really look like for the millions of dreamers, especially in South Asia? From extreme temperatures that could literally melt the soles of your shoes to the absolute soaring heights of its economy, we're going to separate fact from fiction. Okay, let's dive into this itinerary. We're looking at 6 key areas today. First, size, scale, and history. Second, visas and the economy. Third, exploring iconic cities. Fourth, nature's wonders. Fifth, culture and quirks. And finally, number 6, extreme weather. Section 1, size, scale, and history. First off, you have to wrap your head around the sheer scale of the USA. It's the third largest country globally. To put that into perspective, it's roughly 10 times the size of Pakistan. And while it has a huge population of around 330 million people, they're mostly packed into dense urban centers, which leaves these absolutely vast, wide-open natural spaces. And this brings up such a fascinating contrast. Despite being this absolute global superpower, the United States is actually incredibly young. It just gained independence from Britain back in 1776, making the nation roughly 2.5 centuries old. I mean, think about that for a second. When the US was literally just being born, the Indian subcontinent was already deep into the Mughal Empire. The Taj Mahal was already standing. But, we also have to remember that before the European settlers arrived, the land itself was inhabited for thousands of years by Native American tribes who had their own incredibly rich languages and traditions. All right, moving on to Section 2, visas and the economy, or as I like to call it, the true journey of a dreamer. Just take a look at this staggering number, $27,000 billion. That's the gross domestic product, the total size of the U.S. economy. It is literally the largest in the world, hundreds of times larger than Pakistan's economy, for example. And it's all powered by the globally dominant U.S. dollar, the currency that basically runs most of the world's trade. So America isn't just a country, it's the financial engine driving the entire globe. But actually accessing that economy, well, that requires a massive amount of patience. A basic visit visa, that involves strict interviews, and honestly, there are no guarantees. Then you have the F1 student visa, which opens doors to elite schools like Harvard or MIT, or the H-1B, which is kind of the golden ticket if you have the right tech skills. But the ultimate prize, the green card, can mean a staggering 10 to 15-year wait for South Asian applicants. So yeah, the American dream is definitely real, but the line to get in is incredibly long. Let's head over to Section 3, exploring iconic American cities. It's time for a little coast-to-coast urban exploration. We're kicking things off in Washington, D.C. This isn't just a city, it's the absolute epicenter where global politics are shaped. You've got the White House, home to the president, and the gleaming white dome of the Capitol building. But here's a really wonderful surprise. Right along the National Mall are the Smithsonian Museums. And in the wealthiest country on Earth, entry to these massive repositories of knowledge is completely free. Just outside the city, you'll also find Arlington National Cemetery, where these endless rows of white tombstones offer a really heavy, silent reminder of the nation's military history. Heading north, we step into a totally different world. New York City, the city that never sleeps. Arriving in Manhattan it's a complete sensory overload. You're greeted by skyscrapers that literally seem to touch the clouds, and you've got the historic Statue of Liberty welcoming visitors in the harbor. And then there's Times Square. It honestly feels like broad daylight, even at midnight, packed with neon lights, people from all over the world, and this chaotic but beautiful mix of languages. NYC really does cater to absolutely everyone. Right in the middle of this giant concrete jungle is Central Park, this massive 300-hectare green oasis where folks go to jog or just hang out and play guitars. Food-wise, you've obviously got the huge famous slices of New York pizza. But for visitors from the subcontinent, you're actually never far from home. There are thousands of halal carts serving up everything from biryani to shawarma. And tying this whole sprawling city together is a subway system that miraculously runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we fly west now, over to California and Nevada. Los Angeles is famously known as the city where dreams are made and broken. It's the undisputed hub of the global film industry. You've got the iconic Hollywood sign, the Walk of Fame, the mega mansions of Beverly Hills. But then, just a few hours' drive away, rising right out of the middle of the barren Nevada desert, is Las Vegas. It's the brightest city on earth, just packed with these massive, glowing casino resorts that literally have entire shopping malls and theaters stuffed inside them. It's wild. Now for Section 4, Nature's Ultimate Wonders. Let's step away from the neon lights and explore America's awe-inspiring natural landscapes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that staggering number right there, 2 billion. That is the age of the rocks at the very bottom of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. It's mind-blowing. This massive trench is roughly 18 miles wide, a mile deep, and 200 miles long. When you actually stand at the edge of it, it is so incredibly vast, it literally leaves you speechless. Just sitting silently through the ages, these rocks completely predate human history. And way beyond the canyons, the natural variety across the country is just stunning. Take Yellowstone in Wyoming, for instance. It was established in 1872 as the world's very first national park. It's this magical place where underground hot springs shoot these towering geysers of boiling water high up into the sky. And then you contrast that with the roaring, soaking power of Niagara Falls right on the US-Canada border, where millions of gallons of water crash down every single second. The roar is so loud you can hear it miles away. Okay, moving to Section 5, Culture, Food, and Quirks. Let's ground ourselves in everyday American life. You've probably heard America described as a melting pot. And that's exactly what it is. People from India, Pakistan, China, Mexico, Africa, they've all brought their unique cultures, and the U.S. has just absorbed them into the fabric of society. This blends into these unique national celebrations like Thanksgiving, where families just gather in gratitude. It's literally a society where a family might celebrate the 4th of July with fireworks, and then sit down to a dinner of Italian pizza, or maybe a South Asian curry. But I will say, for South Asian visitors, adapting to everyday American life definitely comes with some real culture shocks. First up, you have to get used to driving on the right-hand side of the road, which is the exact opposite of driving in India or Pakistan. Second, unless you are in a massive, dense city like New York, surviving without your own car is nearly impossible outside the big cities because of the limited public transport. And finally, oh man, the tipping culture. You gotta keep your wallet handy because tipping 15 to 20% isn't just polite, it's practically mandatory for everyone, from your pizza delivery driver to your taxi chauffeur. But beyond those everyday habits, the country is incredibly accommodating when it comes to faith. Our source material highlights a staggering level of religious diversity. Get this, there are over 3.3 million mosques across the United States. In New York City alone, there is a vibrant population of over 1 million Muslims. So while it is a Christian-majority country, it's clear that every religion finds a home here, showcasing an absolute freedom to worship however you choose. All right, on to our final section, number 6, extreme weather and climates. This is where we see how climates collide. Because of its vast size, this country experiences some truly mind-boggling temperature contrasts, often at the exact same time. One part of the U.S. can be this frozen, uninhabitable landscape, while another is quite literally boiling. Up in Alaska, temperatures can plummet to a deadly minus 50 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, down in Death Valley, California, they hold the record for the hottest temperature ever reliably recorded on Earth, a scorching 56.7 degrees Celsius back in 1913. And it's not just the crazy temperatures, it's the severe weather systems, too. There's this massive region spanning Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, famously known as Tornado Alley. Every single year, this area is battered by hundreds of devastating tornadoes that can literally wipe entire towns off the map. Yet, the resilience of the Americans living there is just remarkable. They face the destruction, they rebuild their lives from the ground up, and they just keep moving forward. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've looked at the vast scale and the young history, the economic might, the harsh visa realities, the neon-lit cities, the ancient canyons, the quirky melting pot culture, and of course, the terrifying weather. So, knowing all these balanced, factual realities, I want to leave you with a question. Does this reality of the United States align with your own personal aspirations? Is the American dream and all of its complex reality truly your dream? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep staying curious.